This is a medium ceramic rod for the Spyderco Sharp Maker. Ceramic rod or ceramic stone. I use these ceramic rods quite often for sharpening freehand. I think Spyderco does a good job with them. One of the topics of discussion that comes up quite often when you're talking about ceramic sharpening stones is the best way to clean them. When you use them, they tend to load with steel. This is a fairly clean side. That's a heavily loaded side. You can see the steel on there. When they load with steel, the rate of cutting slows down, and eventually it becomes a problem. If you take a clean piece of paper towel to the heavily loaded side and you just wipe it, you can see that some steel comes off. You can't get a whole lot off doing it dry. Now, there's different suggestions for ways to clean them. People talk about using dish soap, people talk about using Comet, kerosene, toothbrush. I've done all that with varying degrees of success. This is honing oil from Norton. Take a drop of honing oil. You get off quite a bit of steel. Now, that's just simply for cleaning. If in use, and you can see this side now, it's cleaned up really well, just like that quick, that easy. Put a couple drops of honing oil on the stone. And then go to sharpen on it. This is just a bench knife that I keep around. I think it's from Jantz. Steel is D2. I just use it for rough cutting around the workbench. Anything that I don't want to use an expensive folder for. Anything that could be borderline abusive, this knife gets it. So I don't care about what I'm doing here. I'm not real worried about the angle. That I'll reprofile the knife pretty soon anyway. So, but just to demonstrate, with oil on the stone, that amount of cutting. If you wipe the oil off, the stone stays relatively clean. The steel comes right off. There's your steel in the oil on the knife. The reason for that is because the oil carries the steel and it keeps the stone from loading. You're still going to get some loading. It's still going to happen some. It's probably impossible to not have it load at all, but it's a significant difference. Now, the arguments against this, not only do you find arguments because companies say that you don't need to use oil. You don't need to use oil. You can get away with not using it, but eventually the stone is going to load and it becomes a hassle. You'll notice a difference in how fast it's cutting the steel if you sharpen a lot. Beyond that, arguments against it are that using oil or some kind of a lubricant slows down your rate of cutting. On that topic, if the stone is clean, initially, the first few strokes, it will cut faster dry. What I notice is that after the first few strokes, the stone loads and it immediately slows down. If you're using oil on the stone, it doesn't load. And it'll cut slightly slower than those first few strokes if it's dry and clean, but after that, the stone loads. If it's dry, the stone will load. You'll slow down. If you're using a lubricant on it, it doesn't load, it stays consistent, and it's actually, from what I've observed, more efficient to lubricate, to use some kind of oil that keeps the stone from loading. So I don't always do it. There are times where I'm trying to be really precise with what I'm doing, I need it dry. I need to be able to see what I'm doing, and I'll leave it dry and deal with the cleaning. But there are also times with rods or with ceramic bench stones where I'll use oil because it helps. It helps the entire process. On another note, this honing oil from Norton, I'm really finding myself preferring it. The reason for that is the packaging, the way that it dispenses with this little top there. I really like the way this packaging was really smart for Norton to do, as opposed to some of the other options out there for different honing oils. With this packaging, it comes out slower, and it allows you to be more precise with how you're using it. This doesn't cost much. Norton doesn't charge a lot for it, and it's great. I mean, there are other offers where there's more honing oil, but it seems like it goes faster. This seems to last longer just because it forces you to, like I said, be more precise with how you're using it. It doesn't flow out as easily, and it makes the whole thing seem to last longer. So it's really smart for Norton to use that design for their honing oil.